conversation that takes place here. So, as you do know, His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama, in fulfillment of Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, delivered his first State of the Nation address after that historic comeback to the seat of government. Now, this was expected to set the tone for the administration's governance agenda. And as the president did mention, he said the country is in a mess, economically, financially, and politically. And that's why his reset agenda is even more crucial. But the minority would have none of that. The minority say that what the president has done is, as usual, he has engaged in economic doomsaying, he has engaged in populist promises and what they call political blame shifting. We'll interrogate all of that when I come back from this break. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television.
Mommy!
Michelle say, fe. Yum.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Choco Toothpaste. Healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Choco Toothpaste. Sankofa.
Yenchi. Kel Choco Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just a breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
A table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it.
One upgrade is nice, but a double upgrade is amazing. And that's how we do it. Upgrade today to get even more with Step Up. If you're on GoTV Max and upgrade to GoTV Super, you'll get way more with GoTV Super Plus.
It's so cool!
Get big value. Get big entertainment.
Very good.
Perfect! Upgrade and get even more with GoTV.
And glaring signs of almost deliberate and in some cases reckless mismanagement of our resources. Mr. Speaker, not even the restraints of an IMF program were enough for the previous economic managers to exercise prudence in managing our finances. After setting an inflation target of 18% by the end of 2024, the actual outturn was 23.8%, significantly higher than the threshold agreed with the IMF. The Ghana cedi continued its downward slide, losing 19% of its value against the dollar in 2024. It had already in the previous year lost 27.8% of its value. Currently, there are 55 stalled projects due to the default of debt and subsequent restructuring, with a total value of $2.95 billion not disbursed. The stalling of these projects is expected to result in a cost overrun of about 15 billion cedis. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding this gloomy background, I remain committed to leading this government and taking every necessary step to reset our economy, getting things back on track, and working with the good people of our country to build the Ghana we want. Mr. Speaker, we are doubling our efforts to complete all outstanding structural reforms. Through the budget, we will implement corrective measures to restore fiscal discipline and debt sustainability. We're also working hard towards completing the upcoming fourth review of the IMF-supported program. The review is scheduled from April 2nd to April 15, 2025. I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity. In addition to the public debt, which amounts to a staggering 721 billion cedis, several state-owned enterprises are also in debt, including the ECG, which owes 68 billion Ghana cedis. Ghana Cocoa Board, the hope of cocoa farmers, is also highly indebted. Its balance sheet indicates a total debt of 32.5 billion Ghana cedis, of which 9.7 billion is due to be paid at the end of September 2025. In 2023-2024 crop season, Cocoa Board was unable to supply 333,767 metric tons of cocoa, which it had sold at $2,600 per ton. As a result, the then management of Cocoa Board rolled over these contracts into the 2024-2025 season. Honorable members, Mr. Speaker, this implies that for every ton of cocoa delivered this year, in fulfillment of the rollover contracts, Cocoa Board and Ghanaian farmers are going to lose $4,000 in revenue. Mr. Speaker, as I address this Honorable House, Cocoa Board has supplied 210,000 tons out of the rolled over contract, resulting in a revenue loss of $840 million for both Cocoa Board and the Ghanaian farmer. Mr. Speaker, Cocoa Board and the Ghanaian farmer will lose another $495 million by the time the board finishes supplying the remaining rolled over contracts. Scant reserves were also left for debt servicing, despite implementing what may be considered the most severe and distressing economic policy in the annals of the Fourth Republic. Reduction in commercial and technical losses will lead to affordable installations, off-grid solar systems, electric vehicle charging stations, and rechargeable outboard motors. These will reduce on the national grid and position Ghana as a leader in Africa's green energy transition. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's petroleum sector has witnessed a precipitous decline, with crude oil production sinking by more than 32%. This has resulted from the high opacity levels, a very hostile business climate, and excessive political interference in the sector, culminating in most of the major oil companies exiting and stalling all upstream activities. The decline in upstream activity is obvious to any person familiar with the twin cities of Sekondi and Takoradi. Just under a decade ago, these cities were the bustling epicenter of fabrication, logistics, service activity associated with the upstream oil and gas sector. Unfortunately, my recent visit reveals many shut down facilities and many businesses have packed and left the shores of our country. Hundreds of workers have been laid off and left unemployed. I wish to assure the good people of Sekondi Takoradi and indeed the whole Western region that we're going to breathe life back into your area. Mr. Speaker, we have already commenced revitalization of our upstream petroleum sector by creating a business-friendly and congenial environment for our partners and other prospective investors who wish to come in. My meeting with the players in the upstream sector have been extremely positive, and we have been assured of substantial investments running into billions of dollars in the very near future. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions gave the directive for the removal of the unitization based on the arbitration that took place. We believe that this will open the way for an amicable resolution of the issues between Springfield and ENI. And this should make our oil and gas prospects more attractive to investments going forward. Recognizing the urgent need for national dialogue on education and in the spirit of inclusive governance, I launched the National Education Consultative Forum on February 18th in Ho. I look forward to the recommendations which we will incorporate into our sectoral policy reforms. Mr. Speaker, even though Article 38 of the Constitution guarantees equitable access to education across Ghana, 30 years after the Free Compulsory Universal Basic Education FQ program was implemented, its full objectives remain unmet. To tackle this issue, government will redefine the scope of basic education and introduce the Zero to Hero initiative to enhance foundational literacy and numeracy. Additionally, ICT training will be integrated into early childhood education at the basic level. Over the next 3 years, it will be expanded to cover at least 300 classrooms, 30 centers of excellence, 1,000 teachers and district teacher support teams, focusing on the teaching of mathematics and literacy. This year, the Ministry of Education will fully implement a new curriculum for senior high technical schools and STEM schools, introduce a standardized national sign language for hearing impaired learners from kindergarten to SHS, and review the kindergarten and primary school curriculums. To increase access to quality education, we will scale up our social intervention programs like the capitation grants, the feeding grants for special schools, and the government's BECE registration. Mr. Speaker, it is important to continue to retain and motivate our teachers in all schools, especially in the rural areas. Government will begin plans for the implementation of the 20% allowance for teachers who agree to serve in rural schools. District assemblies are going to be involved in this scheme to ensure that the teachers are present and teaching in the schools that are selected. The Ministry of Health has a total liability of nearly 15 billion cedis when co-financing obligations, judgment debts, and payments to clear medical commodities at the ports are all put together. The last major hospital equipment replacement program was undertaken in 2014 when I was president. Since then, most hospital equipment in the Ghana Health Service facilities have deteriorated or broken down. Mr. Speaker, the Agenda 111 program, which was started as a knee-jerk reaction during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Ghanaian public had begun to appreciate the significant investments that the previous NDC administration had made in healthcare facilities, and began to lament the many hospital projects that had stalled under the previous administration, a promise was made to build 111 hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to note that there is no dedicated funding source for such a gargantuan project. There is no dedicated funding source for this gargantuan project. Mr. Speaker, for the record, as I speak, not a single Agenda 111 hospital is operational. As part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, Mr. Speaker, as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service Ghost Name scandal to justice. Such brazen theft of public funds must not go unpunished.
It is obvious that they left this economy in a miserable state. And the attire that they adorn today says it all. But this side is in white because His Excellency the President, we knew very well, was bringing to us a message of hope. Mr. Speaker, our elders have cautioned that you don't leave your crown in the hands of a hyena as a caretaker when you are traveling. Don't be surprised when you come back and the carcasses of all your livestock are gone. Mr. Speaker, what has happened to our economy and our country and the presentation that has been made says it all. It is sad, it is unfortunate. But His Excellency the President has brought us hope. Hope for the youth of this country. Hope for the women. Hope for the Okada drivers. Hope for the private sector. Hope for students. And hope for ordinary Ghanaians who did everything to bring him to office with such an overwhelming number.
Let me, on behalf of the minority caucus, congratulate His Excellency the President first on his election. This is the first time after the election that he's been to this chamber and to deliver a message on the state of the nation. Our side take this opportunity to congratulate you and wish you well. Second, Mr. President, on the 21st of February 2013, you notably said, quote, Mr. Speaker, the meat is now down to the bones. This was on the occasion of your address to Parliament. And you said that the meat is now down to the bones. This was at the time, Mr. President, that you were President of Ghana. And you had served as chair of the economic management team of your own government. Yet, when you came to this house, you lamented on the same state of the economy that you had presided and re-echoed the point that we are left with just the bones. Mr. Speaker, the President again says that he has delivered less ministers. But it is clear that his strategy is, if less, more divide.
Our President did not address the true state of the nation's economy. We have a lot, time will not allow me. One statement that he made that I was very much surprised was the fact that we had left billions of cedis at the Defense Ministry. But he failed to tell us the crisis that was looming. He himself emphasized the point that our boundaries were threatening our country. In fact, this is what I have. I'll hand over to you. At the Defense Ministry, unprecedented achievements in the area of acquisition of equipment that has given us security as a country. He did not talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, our president failed to talk about the fact that Agenda 111 is ongoing and that some of the projects, we have completed them. Government is about continuity. Government is about continuing what has been done. You remember the popular affordable house by Amampanyi Kufuor. Tell me in the history of this country, apart from Nanado's government, who has accomplished unprecedented projects in the area of railway sector. Driving from here to Ho, you encounter about such major railway projects for crossing the roads. We have commissioned some of them and even brought into practice or operation coaches that are operating now. So if the president is trying to create the impression that the economy was so bad and it was criminally mismanaged, that is the reason he's been given the mandate. And that is why he was trying to intimidate the judiciary by describing the judiciary in a bad way. But ladies and gentlemen, the same economy was able to take care of the poor child, implementing most of the enviable projects in terms of social intervention in kind and in cash on the continent of Africa and on the globe. But for free SHS, over 100,000 young ones would have been home. But for Nanado's government, NHIS had already collapsed under first Mahama's administration. The MPP government actually left a well-restored economy after what Ghana went through as a result of the severe economic crisis. Ghanaians were still enjoying the social interventions that I named all of them. Yes, Ghana went through challenges.
The fulfillment of Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution has done. We've invited this morning to join us have a very, very interesting conversation. Dr. Eric Boakye Yadom, who is a financial economist, senior lecturer, Banking and Finance Department, UPSA. Good morning, Doc. Thank you so very much for joining us on Inside Pages. It's a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you. Kwesi Kwarteng is a private legal practitioner and also a member of the MPP's communications team. Kwesi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
I hope you are doing great.
Well, we're doing well. Fasting starts today, so you can tell. Hamza, you look at Hamza's.
Yeah, I'm in opposition, so I need to go and scout for food.
Oh yeah, you have.
It's Hamza who is in power.
Well,
we'll have to associate with him well.
I won't speak for Hamza. I'm sure when he gets his turn, he'll do the talking himself. But I want to use this occasion to wish our Muslim brothers and sisters a happy Ramadan. It's a very important spiritual exercise, and once we're able to go through it 29 days or 30 days, we are expected to become better Muslims after this spiritual exercise. So may Allah make it easy on all of us. And so once again, happy Ramadan. Hamza Sweeney is here. I mentioned his name earlier. I'm going to mention his name again. He's also a private legal practitioner and a member of the NDC's communications team. Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm doing well.
And, I'm sure that when I come back to you, you would also want to use the occasion to wish our Muslim brothers and sisters. So I'll come back to you on that. Professor John Osai Kwapong will also be joining us via Zoom. Prof, are you okay? Great. So Prof is actually joined us via Zoom already, all the way from the United States of America. Professor John Osai Kwapong is the project director, Democracy Project, and also a CDD fellow. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages here on Metro Television.
Good morning to you as well. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, before we even kickstart our conversation, I've got some news that I want to share with you. It's a good one. It's not a bad one. Now, this is going to be the last time that Inside Pages will air Saturday from 8 to 10. Now, we have done our own research, and we have come to one firm conclusion that you would need us more on a Sunday evening when you're more relaxed at home, you're done, you're family, you're done, you're getting ready for work the next day, and you just want to catch up on what you may have missed in the course of the weekend. We believe that would serve you much better on a Sunday evening. So this is going to be the last time that Inside Pages is airing Saturday morning from 8 to 10. It would come your way Sunday evening from 7 to 9. Kwesi Kwarteng, Dr. Eric Boachi Yadom, and Hamza Sweeney are fully in love with the new idea. They fully endorsed it. And all the other guests who have been joining us on Inside Pages are fully, aligned with this, because we had to do our own consultations and our own research, as I did indicate before, we came up with this new decision. And so Inside Pages will now air from Sunday next week. So on Sundays from 7 to 9 p.m. So stay with us. Content is pretty much going to be the same, maybe one or two tweaks here and there, but pretty much it's going to be the same thing. So you have the politicians, and then you would have the non-politicians to look at things from a more dispassionate and more independent point of view. And so please join us, and let's continue to do what we've been doing every Saturday mornings from 7 to 9. So I'll start with in an unusual fashion. I'll start with Professor John Osai Kwapo. Prof. I'm sure you watched the Sona. I don't know whether you listen to it on a radio online, but I don't know however you consume that information or you read it. But whatever it is, what would you say are your general thoughts about what you heard the president tell us as being the state of this nation, Ghana, as in terms of what he has inherited and what our current situation is?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to the other guests in the studio, and good morning to your listeners as well. My key takeaway is that what I heard the president say is he's inherited a country facing some major challenges, not only economic challenges, but a country facing some major fiscal challenges as well in a number of key areas, policy interventions or policy initiatives that his government will be rolling out. It will therefore be very instructive to see what happens on March 11th when the budget is read, because then I believe that on the back of the Sona, a lot of the things that were mentioned on a broad level will be operationalized in the budget, where you would actually see the specific commitments and the kinds of resources that his administration is going to devote into addressing the challenges that he mentioned and as he sees them. But for me, essentially, that is the main takeaway that I got from the president's message.
I see. What do you make of the president's posture? I've heard some people say that he came across as more sincere and he came across as more unifying and he came across as a man who means business. I don't know what you saw in terms of his body language, because analysts like you just don't look at what the person is saying, but how they say it, the body language, all of those things matter to you.
Yeah, those things matter as well. I believe that is what the president wanted to communicate to the Ghanaian people, which is, this is what I have to be honest with you in terms of the country that I have inherited. Now, I always say that there has to be a set of facts about the country that we can all agree on. Now, as to how those facts make us feel, we can have reasonable disagreements about that. For example, the analogy that I always use is the weather, right? We should be able to agree that today's temperature is at a certain level. Now, as to whether it is too hot or it is okay, different people may have disagreements about that. But for me, again, that is the impression that I got from the president, which is I have to communicate with you openly, transparently about what I believe to be the state of the country that I have inherited. And I am going to tell you as it is to prepare you to say that, look, we do have challenges, but not to also make excuses for those challenges, but to also give the assurance that I I have a plan, and I promise to address these challenges. If you look at the early days of the administration, I get the impression that one of the things President Mahama is also trying to be intentional about is to make the second presidency look distinct from the first. So that for me is, the impression that I got is, look, let me tell you as it is, and then we'll take it from there.
But the thing about, and I saw that post that you put up on your page, of course, on your wall, sorry, on Facebook, and I thought it was an interesting comment that you had made. Is it the case that we really can't agree on a set of facts? And as you went on to say, so that these are set of facts that can be independently verifiable. Hasn't the challenge really been the interpretation of that set of facts? Because we say data is like an ass. I mean, it depends on how you want to, which direction you want to whip it. Isn't that really what has been the problem?
Correct. But I think part of the problem has even been the debating of some of the facts, right? I mean, we do record, information like, inflation rates, GDP growth, balance of payments, the debt situation. I mean, these are critical indicators that we regularly, capture its state, whether it's, information that is provided. If you go to the Bank of Ghana's website, they have quite a lot of data about different aspects of the economy. If you go to the Ministry of Finance website, you would get information there. If you go to the Ghana Statistical Services, there is information about the state, of the country. We report this information to key places like the IMF World Economic Outlook database. We report it to, the World Bank's development indicators. All the information there is information that is sourced from the country. So there are, various places, or there are existing sources that we can always cross-check. We can always double-check to say, yeah, that's the situation, right? And then, so if someone says that we only have 100 cities, just as an example, it has to be verifiable, right? We have a national budget that captures all the numbers. So that's why I keep saying that there are some basic facts about the state of the country that I would want to believe it's not debatable. Now, as to whether you tell me we have 100 cities and it is enough or it's not enough, we can debate that. We can say it's inadequate. We can say it's adequate, but more can be done. Those debates I have no qualms about. I think I just worry when it's the very basic fundamental things that we can't even seem to agree on.
Well, perhaps that's where independent researchers like you come in, because the public would most likely take what you tell us with more, they'll take it more seriously because you guys are not aligned. When I say you people are not aligned. And so when you say it, that's it. It's a fact. And that's it. We get on with our lives. But let me come to Dr. Eric Boakye-Adom. I actually forgot to go to tell the public what your designation is. You're actually a financial economist and also a senior lecturer, Banking and Finance Department, UPSA. I left that out when I introduced you earlier. He raises a very important issue about, can't we, as a people, accept or agree on a set of facts and not always having to say, my debt to GDP is this, and somebody says the debt to GDP is this, somebody says my inflation is this, says my inflation is that. What exactly is the problem? You're a lecturer, and you're also supposed to be an independent-minded person. So, would you want to express an opinion on what he said even before I get to general thoughts on Sona?
Yes, I think I started this conversation yesterday.
Okay.
As to how we should come to a point where these facts can be verifiable and energy sector and independent.
Right.
And energy sector debt that we were told in Sona on the 3rd of January. I mean, has to be around 2.5 billion. Less than 2 months down the line, President Mahama tells us that it's around 70 billion Ghana cedis. Using the rate of 14.6, you'll come to around 4.8 billion dollars.
Okay.
Which means that it's almost doubled the figures that we knew as at 3rd January.
Okay.
So we should be able to verify some of these things. And the president also talked about, the former president, I should say, talked about the debt that he met.
Okay.
So I decided to find other means to check how much was our debt.
You mean the president?
The former president. What the debt he came to meet. I mean, I'm talking about Akufo-Addo's in 2017.
Oh, you mean when the Akufo-Addo also came to power? Right.
How much debt was left for him?
For him, right.
And the legacy energy sector debt.
Exactly.
So I checked on IFC, Institute for Fiscal Studies, and they put the total energy sector debt to be around 21.8 billion Ghana cedis. Using the exchange rate at the time, it means that they also inherited a debt around $4.85 billion, which is equivalent to, if we should say that what President Mahama is telling us is the case, it's equivalent to what he also left behind. I mean, so the facts should be consistent. And I agree with Paul when he says that the weather, we may have a different feeling to it, but when it's sunny, we shouldn't have a different definition as to what being sunny is. You know, so the fact presented to, and I think political leaders, when they got opportunity, they should not let the political twist override verifiable facts. And I think we'll go into it as in things like what is in the sinking fund, you know, what is in the energy sector.
We'll look at all of that.
We will look at all of that. So generally, the facts should be able, we should be able to have a secondary source to verify them.
To verify, that's extremely important. And Hamza, I don't know what you think about this. And you also get sick and tired where it appears that we're playing with figures. This person says this, and you sometimes will get a bit frustrated and say, look, this is what it is. And then the other person on the side says, no, this is what it is. And you say, look, I'm not a dummy. I know what I'm talking to you about.
Yes.
I don't know how we can do with this.
I think that I share in the view being expressed by Doc, and especially when it comes to our economic figures. But by the way, good morning to our cherished viewers out there, and happy Ramadan to my Muslim brothers and sisters. You see, Moro, for me, we have the institutions, but the problem in this country has always been politics. It appears that even the so-called public servants and civil servants, we privilege our political affiliations more than the national interest. And even in designing or coming out with some of these economic data, it is largely influenced by political considerations. And many of those who are in the civil service and are actually committed to upholding the national interest first are also hindered, especially because of the power, enormous power politicians have in this country. Because if you are not careful, you'll be transferred out of your comfort zone to a region just because the political class wants to punish you. I've experienced that. And I see it's not peculiar to one political party. I must be very honest about that. So when it comes to some of these things, I think that is why we have that kind of position in terms of lack of confidence in our data. But whichever way you look at it, it appears that the NPP is the #1 culprit. Because even remember, in the not too distant future, there was a situation where the past administration was at loggerheads with the IMF, largely because of categorization, the way they categorized our debts. Because the IMF found it quite untenable. But the government was also insistent that some debts should not be covered. Because according to them, those organizations have sound balance sheets that could support some of these loans that they were contracting. And they did not see why it should be added onto the national database. But you see, Moro, just to quickly respond to Doc on the energy sector politics, I refer to it. Doc, I think that the issue of challenges in the energy sector goes far more beyond the simplification you provided in terms of President Mahama leaving a debt of 21 billion and the conversion rate would have been $4 billion, almost in the region of what we are now being told that the MPP government left behind. When we say the economy is in crisis, our debt sector is in, our energy sector is in crisis, it is not that simple. You agree with me that when President Mahama granted that 21 billion was left, it was not for nothing. ESLA was mooted. The idea of ESLA was mooted and given legal backing. And per the projections, in a matter of 5 years, whatever debt that was left behind and what was even foreseen to have been accumulated, the proceeds from ESLA would have been able to take care of it and at least make our energy sector more sustainable. But what was done to the proceeds from ESLA, apart from the fact that the new government increased it and also decided, they also proceeded to collateralize it for other loans. And so, upon all the claims of prudent economic management and superior economic skills, he would be alarmed. And so, these are the considerations that needs to be made. Again, if you look at our exchange rate, undoubtedly, that alone has its own pressures on the energy sector. At the time President Mahama accumulated the so-called 21 billion, our exchange rate, what was it? About 4.2 Ghana cedis to the dollar. Today we are in the region of 14.6 and in some cases 15.0. So even in terms of energy imports into the country, the way the economy has been managed has dire consequences on even on our energy sector. So it cannot be the same. That is why I said that is oversimplification of what is happening.
Right.
And so these are some of the things we have to look at. And for me, it is that honesty that this country needs, irrespective of the political party in charge. And you know me, Moro. Even if President Mahama had said things that I considered unpalatable, in the spirit of the agenda to reset, I would have been bold enough to state those
You
things
disagree.
and disagree. But the truth is that for many of us who have had the opportunity of sitting with them, listening to the discussions going around the economy, I can tell you in all honesty that what is being made known to the Ghanaian people is even under declaration, because they know that if indeed they open the books and say it as it is, it would affect the inflow of foreign direct investments into the country. Indeed, many investors would be scared to bring their investments into this country. Okay. So President Mahama has even been a little bit diplomatic in terms of letting us know what is in there. For instance, when he said that the economy was being managed as a crime scene, he did not use the phrase we used in 2009 when we won power, broken economy. He said reckless management of the economy. But people fail to appreciate why he used that word. Because you can actually even have an economy that is recovering, but your way of managing it could be deemed criminal or reckless.
Abinal Sayasari, who's the former deputy finance minister, says that what the president has done is that he's engaged in what she describes as economic doomsaying, political blame shifting, and populist promises. That's how she terms the State of the Nation address. He said that's all the president came to do. He's just come to open the book of lamentation. And yet, in the same speech, when you read, I think paragraph 2 or so, the president promised that he will not engage in lamentation because that's not his style.
But again,
how do you respond to that?
That is again, I think that his response rather is more political. We've all had an opportunity of reading the State of the Nation address, even after it was presented. And clearly, President Mahama was emphatic. I'm not here to lament. And that is why, even when you pick the statement, you simply do not see in-depth analysis of the challenges we face in the various sectors. They are just surface. He touched on them surface and proceeded to proffer solutions and said that John Dramani Mahama, will fix it. And he gave us an integrated policy framework by which he intends to resuscitate our economy. And so, if you look at his references to the economic measures, he proceeded to talk about agriculture for economic transformation agenda. For him, he believes that if so much investment is put in the agriculture sector, we would be able to attract at least more foreign exchange into the country to be able to show up the credibility of the city. And that is why he mentioned the AgriNext program, where access to over 30,000 lands will be made available to young people and trained in agribusinesses as well as greenhouse farming opportunities for them to take advantage of. He appreciates that when you expand agriculture, people's involvement in agriculture, your market will grow. And for that matter, there's the need for you to have a market for it. And he also proceeded to introduce the Feed Ghana initiative, intended to create market for whatever these 30,000 young people would be producing. On top of that, he looked at the fishing industry, an agenda to expand the landing sites and also make it impossible for you to engage in illegal mining. So the policies are integrated.
Okay.
He proceeded to the farm service centers where young people who are interested in farming would be supported with equipment. And at the end of the day, he spoke about what? The Agriculture Export Development Corporation Council that he intends to launch. All intended to ensure that Ghana is not only food sufficient, but we are in a position to export and bring in foreign. 17, we're never locked out of the capital markets. Were we? Before 2017, President Mahama did not leave a debt stock of about 721 billion. Before 2017, President Mahama was not engaged in a domestic debt exchange program. And an exchange program with our foreign counterparts as well. Before 2016, inflation in this country was not 20%. Before 2017, our interbank lending rates was not this bad.
Okay.
So if you look at all these issues,
okay,
you cannot help, especially the same president who presided over these figures that I have just enumerated, cannot be happy with an inflation rate of about 23% and our debt position of about 721 billion. No.
Okay.
You cannot resist the temptation to declare the country as being challenged.
We'll come back and look at some more specifics. And thank you very much for those general thoughts that you've shared. Kwesi, where do you stand on this? Do you want to have a bite on the we're struggling to agree on a common set of facts that can be independently verified? And then, of course, if you have any general thoughts to share on the state of the nation, and then when I come back, you'll pick the aspects that you want to talk about, and you can go into more greater detail.
Yes, I mean certainly. And then good morning to you again, and my senior friends. For me, let me begin by saying that I mean this is not new. If we look at the political dynamics of this country, and you roll it back to 8 years ago when the MPP assumed office, we expressed similar concerns.
I mean, it was a similar narrative.
Similar narrative. I mean, you can roll it back every 8 years or 4 years when new government is ushered in or transition in. The picture is painted as though everything has been destroyed. Yes, still, we managed to fix ourselves. So it is not really new. Of course, I agree that we are not where we have to be as a people, but we are also definitely not where we used to be. There has been growth. There has been some progress, in as much as there has also been challenges. It is important to even remind ourselves that as a state, we've been to IMF about 17 good times. And usually the only caveat upon which a country moves to IMF are situations where they are in economic distress. And I mean, within this 17 IMF programs spans across all successive governments, whether the NPP, whether the NDC, and what have you that you can talk of, even if it even predates back to the military regime. So I just wanted to give that overview, that when we sit here, of course, I mean, I want to leave that for the professors of economics to engage in that. I'm a lawyer, I'm a public speaker to some extent. So I will leave the key variables for the professors of economics to do. But you see, even with my layman's understanding of economic variables and figures, mostly, like you rightly indicated, it has more to do with who is making the interpretation and how he understands the figures and the position that he wants to achieve. I mean, most times when you take it's just like law. I mean, a lot of times you take a position as a lawyer, then you just oppose it with the legal provisions to support it. And that has always been. So if it has to do with the macroeconomic figures or the macroeconomic variables, I should be able to dictate A, B, C, D, make that comparison. I am not sure that is what the ordinary Ghanaian is much more interested in. Because even as I sit here, there are some of the macroeconomic variables that Prof. and Doc will mention. I may not even be able to have a better appreciation to it. But you see, there are basic things that we have to look at. You see, first of all, it is not in dispute that at some point the economy faced some challenges. My party, the New Patriotic Party, has never run away from that. We take responsibility for that. And if you recall, it was even a prophecy that President Akufo-Addo then made when he admitted that we know how to bring back the economy, but we do not know how to bring back the human lives. It was just an admonition and an acceptance that there could be situations, particularly during the COVID era and the post-COVID, the consequential effects of the COVID and, the general economic distress that the world went through, that Ghana will also not be exempted. So it is not new when you speak about economic challenges. Yes, we admit. Recently, before the new President Mahama was sworn, if you recall, the finance minister made a big proclamation that the economy is on the track of recovery. Before you can say something is being recovered, it means at some point you admit that the economy was sick. So nobody has run away from that responsibility. But sometimes when we paint some glooming picture, and let me remind my good friend Hamza, and my senior, and of course the entire NDC, that when we are having conversations like this, we must remind ourselves of our positions. That this time around, they are in government, they are not in opposition again. To run the usual rhetorics, to paint the glooming picture. Indeed, President Mahama appeared to know more about the state of the nation when he was even in opposition. He knew more. It was even the basis upon which you structured your campaign manifesto. Now, when you come, you are going to do this. When you come, I'm going to do this. This thing has collapsed. I'm going to fix it. This is in the mix. So when you come, nobody is preventing you from situating your conversation in a context. No, we are not saying that you do not have the right to do that. But in as much as that you want to situate your whatever you want to say within a certain context, it should not be overturned. And it is the more reason why the Honorable Abna Osayasari is saying that it appears is so much of lamentations. That is not the work of a government. A government is to fix problems. A government is to provide solutions. Yes, you inherited that. If you want to make the comparison, we may be able to do that. When you were living in 2016, if you recall, the same President Mahama then said that we finished eating the meat and it's left with the bones. Nobody has complained.
Oh, that was in 2013, actually.
That was in 2013, but he made that proclamation.
Yes.
Obviously, very close to the 20. No, it doesn't matter. But whichever, no. But most important.
Please go ahead.
Because the context in which that was
respectfully.
No, let him go ahead.
Respectfully, you have your time.
Yes, please go ahead.
Respectfully. Yes. I'm just reminding you that during his time, he even made that declaration. That when it comes to the conversation about the economy, the meat is gone and it's left with the bones. So if you want us to remind you, we'll remind you of all those things.
What was your interpretation of that statement the president made at the time? What did it mean to you?
It is not about my interpretation.
This
cannot be a subjective interpretation. No, this cannot be a subjective interpretation. In matters like this.
We want your subjective interpretation.
Respectfully.
Hamza, please.
You are also a lawyer. Let me.
Please allow him to flow. Please allow him to flow.
This has nothing to do with.
He's a very good friend. Don't do that to him. Please go ahead.
This has nothing to do with a subjective interpretation. This has more to do with.
I want to know what.
I'm coming. I'm going to give you the context. Okay. Then you will be able to even form an opinion on it. In those times, and of course, even the preceding years, you realize that the same government was even not able to pay teacher training allowance. If you recall, nursing training allowance was not being paid. If you recall, those were the times where we had embargo on employment sector, and people had formed unemployed graduate students associations.
You mean they were in arrears?
Yes, if you recall, those were the times that Dumso was critical and other things. So if you think a president makes such a statement and you think that it meant that the economy was booming and everything was well, I leave it to the jury out there. As I'm saying that
what I asked you, that when the president made that statement, what did it mean to you?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, that you have to look at the realities and circumstances then.
Yes.
And then situate that statement within that context. And I've enlisted some of the realities and circumstances then to you.
So
and then that's what I'm saying, that I don't want to be boxed into making a subjective.
I get that, but if I listen to everything you've said, I think the point you're making, well, not I think, but what I guess you're saying is that the president was saying that the economy was in a dire strait.
Essentially.
Okay.
Essentially.
That's right.
And obviously he was in power.
Okay.
He was in power there. So that's what you see. The point I'm making is that if you want to engage in this usual rhetorics, we may probably never progress. I also emphasize that as a people or as a party, we've never disputed the fact that we came from economic distress. I mean, post-COVID and IEO is fixed. Because for almost one continuous year, you have about 350,000 teachers that were not working. Yes, they were paid by the government. For almost a year, government was intervening, providing water, providing electricity, supporting business and other things. All this comes with financial obligations and commitments. So nobody is running from that, angle. Even to the extent that it has a consequential and cascading effect on incumbent governments, to the extent that as at February, about 60 to 70% of all incumbent governments that have had elections post the COVID effect had even lost the election. So nobody is running away from that. But we are just reminding the NDC that, yes, they may put it within that context. But if it has to do with the macroeconomic variables and the macroeconomic figures, particularly depending on the interpretation that, subjectively, everybody want to form, they may not be able to stand it. You are talking about an economy which you describe as a crime scene. Yes, sir. Since you came, you've not presented any budget. You've been able to pay DDEP, something you never engineered or created. You spoke about the fact, respectfully, you spoke about the fact that you inherited a doomsday economy and you are going to fix it. How are you going to fix it in the same economy that you've not presented any budget? These are questions that provokes logical consistency. Question marks on the logical consistency of the claims that you are making. You've inherited an economy, and today, of course, when we talk about the entire State of the Nation address, and like you rightly indicated, we'll come to the key variables: revocation of appointments, matters of security, Rumso, Galamsey. These are all conversations that we'll have. And so, free senior high school, it's broad, but of course, within the broader context, you may then all of them will have to flow from because at the end of the day, you're going to use money. President Mahama, like Hamza rightly indicated, he listed some, very bold social interventions that he said he's going to on agriculture, on all. These are about 5 or 6 of them. I'm sure with hindsight, I will be able to recall and give them to you once again. Fine. The point is that in a distressed economy, as he paints it, how is he going to fund it?
Okay. Especially
when he never provided any structure and framework within which he's going to sustain and fund such same. So we are not running away from the fact that we had challenges. Right. But I'm saying that as a president, his duty is not to come and be the Jeremiahs and the naysayers. His duty is to come and assure, to come and give hope, and tell us how he's going to solve the problems, even if such exists.
Doc, is it a very valid argument to make, or you think it's very simplistic to say that the fact that the economy is sick means that you cannot, for instance, pay your coupons to how do you call it, the bondholders? You should not be able to, for instance, procure light crude oil in an emergency fashion to power some of the plants because of some pigging exercise which the West Africa gas pipeline it's undergoing, and some of the expenditure that we've seen this government undertake. To say that based on these, nobody should say that the economy has been criminally managed or the economy has been recklessly managed. Is that a very valid argument to make, or you think it's very simplistic?
So I think that in finance we call something signaling.
Okay.
Signaling is to look at a third variable rather than looking at what the ordinary manager would do, because they have something to protect.
Okay.
So let's not probably rely on President Akufo-Addo's, former President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation address. Let's not believe entirely what President Mahama is also telling us. Let us look at what is being done. And you rightly mentioned that in an emergency situation, they've been able to purchase crude oil to be able to presently they bring reports. Now, one of such reports, that was just last year, they indicated that the fiscal performance in 2024 has so far been strong, and Ghana is on track to achieve all the various indicators that were given.
That's the IMS verdict.
That is IMF verdict, and it's verifiable. You can check from their website.
Okay.
Now, President Mahama mentioned that the previous administration makes inflation target. Obviously, it is just one of the many indicators that shows whether the economy is recovering or not. I mean, and we need to look beyond just the political sentiment. You know, and of course, you have to score political points when you're on political platforms, and you should be like my colleague Quatin just mentioned, that you should be able to paint a picture so that in the end we will say you have come to solve a problem. If you don't tell Ghanaians what you came to meet, then we cannot even measure what you are doing. So I agree with him on that score. But I'm saying that figures that we can verify, and my friend told me said that the figures I gave on the energy sector was simplistic. And I was just telling him that if you are telling us that you came to meet about 70 billion.
I didn't see the figures.
The analysis. I was just pointing out to him that if you are telling us that you came to meet 70 billion, which translates to about $4.9 billion, it is the same thing that you left. And setting up the ESLA. What is ESLA? You are setting up a scheme to borrow. When you borrow I'm coming.
ESLA was not a scheme to borrow.
I just wanted it to land. I just wanted it to land, and I can come.
The ESLA, when you look at the ESLA account, one of the things that they did was to issue bonds and things to be able to raise revenue and other mobilizing domestic revenue. You look at the what do you call ESLA account in as at 2017 on their balance of even bond issued was about 4.7 billion Ghana cedis. So ESLA, one of the scheme was to be able to raise coupon. You can download it. It's their prepare account every year.
As one of their source of.
As one of the sources to be able to
source of revenue.
Revenue to be able to pay the energy sector. So largely, what you will do, you will be able to pay, but you will trade one rates for the other. So in as much as the bonds will be able to pay the energy sector, that it will be adding up to the public debt as well. You know, I'm not saying that is the only source, but you can check. It's verifiable annual financial statement they publish every year. I mean, so I'm just saying that whether the economy was bad, the economy is good. And obviously, nobody expects the president to say that the economy is good. If the economy is good, the Ghanaians will not vote overwhelmingly against the NPP government and change him. We know there's something wrong, and we have voted for you to fix it. So if you are telling us the true state, I think you should be kind enough to give us overall picture that yes, some progress have made. Yes, inflation is 23, it is still high. That is not what we expect to be. But we have come from inflation of about 54% during the COVID time. I mean, and all the issues, the externalities that translated into inflation shooting up. Then we can also say that we have just come from 2024, where the quarterly GDP growth is in the region of 6%. No, that we're expecting on the average that the growth will be around 5% for the whole of 2024. So we admit there are clear challenges, you know, but you should be honest enough to give us an overall picture of what it is. And another issue that the president mentioned was the what we call the sinking fund, you know, which I believe that these are verifiable facts. Why won't you just publish the accounts or the figures within the sinking fund so that we'll know who is telling the truth and who is not, who is trying to make up the stories? Right. I mean, but if you put the fact there and you pick and choose certain parts that try to paint a very bad picture of what has been done, you know, it will make us to reason and later to find out that the figures are not exactly 2024, driven by strong export, particularly gold, and to a lesser extent oil, and higher remittances with international reserve accumulating beyond program targets. Financial stability has been maintained with progress on recapitalization and increased bank profitability. Then we have a president come to tell us that the financial sector is worse than what it was left. Okay. You know, and you can find all this on IMF.
Contrary to what IMF is saying.
You see, so if NPP pick and choose figures to make a case, that we all say that is not the way to go. We don't expect you to repeat the same problem. You see, I have said time and again that political parties, they campaign or they show the ills in the current administration, win public sympathy, win landslide election, they come to power and they repeat the ill or the fault that they complain about. Okay. So in as much as NPP did in terms of their debt classification, which was contrary to IMF, what IMF said, you know, we do not expect you to paint a picture which also goes differently from what IMF has said about the Ghanaian economy. And again, you see, we want to trivialize the issue of describing the economy as a financial, as a crime scene. In Ghana, what political leaders say do not have much effect in the domestic financial market. However, international investors treat what public figures, especially a president, say very, very important. More, I want to ask you, if an international investor, will you invest in a crime scene?
Of course you will not.
You will not. So in as much as the situation may be, we must be very careful in how we describe our economy and later go back to these international agencies to seek for funding for that they should come and invest in your country. Okay. So we must be very careful. And also, you see, another way to point to the statement delivered by the president that doesn't tell us the entire picture is that in our domestic debt restructuring and external debt restructuring, Eurobonds and all that, in October, we have Eurobond subscribers, over 90% subscribing to it. You see, these actions tell you the confidence they have in the economy. All right. That you present a statement, you present a plan that give me space to do ABCD, and they confidently subscribe to it. We also have in the same period the International Credit Agency, Fitch and Moody's, upgrading us to CAA2 with a positive outlook. Okay. It tells us that gradually things are becoming better. Things are becoming better. We are not there yet. Okay. We acknowledge that we have, as a country, we have gone through difficult things in the past. But all international agencies that we rely on, if we don't want to believe NDC, NPP, that secondary verifiable agencies that we can trust their judgment, you know, are telling us that your credit ratings are becoming better. That I'm sure that if this year it goes up, by next year we may be returning back to the international capital market. But we should know that economic situations are progressive or is continuous. From one government, move on to the government. It cannot be entirely that within this year there will be a magic, and no, it is what has been built up. So we are expecting President Mahama to say that we came to meet this threshold, not exactly as bad as he describes it, but I'm going to build on. And we should also understand that the campaign season is over. Okay. And there's a level of patience that the average Ghanaian can have. Currently, I can see General Moody's wait and see. Let's give him some time. To be able to put his government together. We can't mount pressure on him. But there's a extent to which Ghanaians will be able to tolerate the excuses and the blame shifting. You see, it was the same problem we had in NPP's era, that even in their 70th year, they were comparing themselves with an economy they came to meet in 2016 and 2017. You should understand that running a country is more than numbers. And you may score political points by comparing yourself with your opponent about a year ago or 4 years or 6 years ago. But Ghanaians are watching, and they want to see that your policies, that the heaven you promised, the things that you promised is able to better the ordinary life. Last week, I saw a video of some young people who have gone to the NDC headquarters demanding jobs that they've waited for several years to get jobs. Okay. You know, and when I think the CEO of the NYA also was taking office, so a lot of young people following him. You know, it shows the confidence that they have. Okay. Beyond the politics that we'll do here, it shows that they need solutions, and I think that the government should be able to give us a practical step. And before I end,
I need to take a break.
Okay.
Go to Professor John Osako. He's been on for a while, and then I can come back to you, Hamza. So just bear with me.
Okay.
So we'll take a short break. So you're watching Inside Pages on Metro Television. Stay with us. Please don't go anywhere.
Fire pomudi ni agobi Ghana fu ni age efri say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me dey go me jollof mu ni me still ahodoma emanate dance
Stanley the barbecue dey go on
sankofa natural spices and one you use 100% natural said the happen
Adofo mamunye huge mistake sankofa natural spices the
FDA ejedi nkratu yatu.
You the answer to my prayer. You with me everywhere. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need to know. Tonight.
Well, the State of Nation address by President John Dramani Mahama has just ended. We would like to engage the concerns of commuters and also traders to find out their consent.
The businesswoman, I would say the taxes. We have to look at the taxes again. Those of us who are producing made in Ghana products, and I produce made in Ghana, I supply supermarkets. Hopefully, I would want to export. They should look at the tariffs and so that you can help the people, the Ghanaians, produce and reduce the imports and rather export. So they should take a look at the small business people, people like us, people producing from home, and hopefully to open a small plant or factory later. They should look at how they can help us build and scale up our businesses.
Most of the youths are unemployed. When you go to the streets, you see many youths on the streets, hawking, roaming about, just looking for what they will eat because there is no employment for them. So what I would like the government to stretch on most is the unemployment. If you could do something about it.
Past governments and leaders have been saying it just on the lip say, but it's not materializing. Ghana is so blessed that we can depend on what we have here.
Asampani say o si endua ya eduane. Na santo eduane. Na export bi. Ebe ma yeska ya asampa no aka no.
Ade bako ai dey sre Mahama say on kai say Ghana ayedin pa those petrols aye to aye dey eduma first we to bibi kakra petrol kakra ultimate dey management we betima manage aye rounds bi kakra by the end of the day you can make small sales for yourself and your family at the same time. We are paying some taxes in this country that I don't understand those kind of taxes because not the taxes but we don't see why we are paying those kind of taxes.
If we on the boy yeah bumper say from this month going here full no with my phone I'm going to for dropping no cost am follow even the trotro cramp no we be see what has afafofro near the admin create difficulties my yeah bumper say full no there with my bohopa my
Metro TV Dominic Nana Kwame and Sapra.
You're watching Inside Pages on Metro Television. It's getting more and more interesting. I do have in the studio with me Dr. Eric Boachiyadon, who's a financial economist and also a senior lecturer, Banking and Finance Department, University of Professional Studies. Kwesi Kwarteng is a member of the MPP's communications team and also a lawyer or a private legal practitioner. Hamza Sweeney is also a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC's communications team. Professor John Osai-Kwapong is the project director for the project. Project director for democracy projects. That's what I wanted to say. He's with us. So, Prof, I'm sure you've been listening. You are not an economist, even though you can appreciate what a good economy looks like, but you're not an economist. But it appears that when you even look at the speech, or you listen to or you watch the speech that was delivered by the president, he spent, a relatively small amount of time on the economy and went on to talk about some other things. But again, when you listen to the conversations that have taken place after the president delivered the State of the Nation, it's all about the economy. That's what everybody appears to be talking about. Is that to be expected?
You have so much ground you want to cover that you won't be able to, cover it all. For me, when I think of the State of the Nation address, I think of it as a report card. And so if you think about your terminal report card, your teacher has to cover all the different subjects that you participated in and try and give as many comments and then let you know areas where you want to improve. But the fact that post the Sona, the issues around the economy and jobs continues to dominate the conversation for me is a very clear signal to the new administration that the biggest pinch point that Ghanaians continue to feel is about the economy and it's about jobs. And this is something that the administration would have to prioritize to make sure that it can begin to address and ease some of these economic pinch points that Ghanaians are facing. So I'm not surprised that even though there were some mention and highlights of the economy in the Sona, I'm not surprised that post the Sona, a lot of the conversation that is being had centers around the economy, centers around jobs, because I'm sure that is what Ghanaians are feeling, or at least that is the priority of Ghanaians now, is to try and make sure that they can start feeling a lot more quote unquote positive about the economy and also see jobs grow and things get better.
Did the president lament?
Well, my mentor always says that whenever you're asked to describe an elephant, the description you give depends on where you're standing. I mean, there's always an element in these Sonas from one administration to another to talk about what they inherited and not that what they inherited, they are not being truthful about what they inherited. But I'm yet to hear a government say they walked into a great situation, like I've inherited, a good country, a good economy, and so I have only these few things to do. I mean, even if you go back to 2008, then by the Kufuor administration. So again, for me, lamentations or not, you always have that element of a new administration pointing to legacy problems or legacy challenges that they have inherited and need to address.
Now, Kwesi Kwarteng talks about the fact that these kinds of narratives tend to discourage investors from investing in this country. It doesn't boost investor confidence. Simpliciter. He says when you say an economy has been criminally managed, you say an economy has been recklessly managed, you say that this economy is such a mess. How do you expect someone, or how do you expect investors to come and invest in an economy which has been totally damaged? The economy is gone. We don't have an economy. Do you agree with that kind of argument?
I mean, yes, there's a lot to be said for that argument, right? Because I think, as Doc said, the senior lecturer said, maybe some of the things that are said on the domestic front may not move our domestic markets. but these become very important signals to external actors who are looking to respond to opportunities for investment in the Ghanaian economy. So if you do make that assertion, it can send concerns, hesitation to an investor who says, how safe or am I willing to take a risk in an economy, in this kind of economy? So yes, there's some legitimacy to that argument. However, for me, once you make that assertion, if you also want to bolster confidence and say that, look, it wasn't managed well, and because I've said that you may have some hesitation in wanting to invest in the Ghanaian economy, you must add a second dimension to it, which is, here are the things that my administration would do differently, right, to bolster that confidence and change the trajectory of how the economy was being managed. I think if you do these things side by side, then you can ease the fears and allay any concerns that any external investor would have in wanting to participate.
But he did say that. I mean, not once, but twice or so, or thrice or so. If you go through the speech, you would realize that he keeps repeating. He talks about the problem and he says he'll fix it.
Correct. And it is very important that you do that, right? If you only highlight the problems, like you raised, it can create some concerns. But once you also signal very strongly that these are the measures that your administration will take, these are the steps that you're going to be rolling out, then it can allay, the fears of those who want to invest, in your economy.
Okay. We have we have 25 minutes more left to go. And so what I intend to do is that I want to allocate the minutes such that everybody would have enough time to comment on what they want to say and not say that, well, when it was my time, what time is almost up. So Hamza, it's because you're my brother. It's because you're my brother.
You Doc and you, because the two of you share similar thoughts. I don't want to say, but Doc,
I asked you when you went to whether you're a finance person. I'm not a finance person
because
so I have little to say.
It's because of the extent to which he was able to articulate.
Yes, and he told me that he is.
But that's why you're friends.
Yes, I mean I will learn from him. But he had more time because it's his area.
Anyway, so Hamza, you know what? Can you deliver this? Can you deliver this in 10 minutes so that I can share the 15 minutes? The 15 minutes for the 2 year.
I think Moro.
He's been able to patronize you because he alone is having 10 minutes.
No, he's not about to. Don't worry. I don't even deliver the.
So deliver is.
First of all, it is important for me to contextualize.
Okay.
The State of the Nation address that His Excellency gave. I can understand and appreciate the strenuous efforts by the NPP and, of course, people who sympathize with their political position, that with trying to create an impression that indeed what happened before Parliament was simply lamentations. If you know the personality of President John Dramani Mahama, you would know that he is not one known to lament when it comes to economic challenges facing our country. And I'm making direct reference to the bone. We have eaten all the meat and it's left with the bone statement. What was the context under which it was made in 2013?
Right.
It was just after the 2012 elections. The country was having challenges, economic challenges. And he called for national consensus as to how to confront these challenges and indicated that enough of the political labeling and that this party has done it, but collectively together, this is the product of our economic management after a year since 1992, and even to a large extent since independence. And so for us to get out of it, because every government comes, they spend and they leave debts. And that was what he meant by the bone. So every subsequent governments were managing with the bone. And there was a need for us to come together in the collective to create something together. That was what birthed the Central Consensus, if you remember. And that led to the government adoption of homegrown policies. Yeah. That was subsequently ratified by the IMF. And then the subsequent introduction of the ECF, Extended Credit Facility, under the IMF engagement protocols. Okay. But you see, Moro, that is President Mahama. So he's not one known to lament. And same way, when it came to Dumso, he said that It is a generational problem and spans from independence to now.
Yeah.
And that he, as president, would not lament, he would fix it. And at the end of the day, the shortfall of about 800 megawatts we had in the energy sector before President Mahama left office in 2016, he had increased Ghana's generation capacity in excess of 1,200 megawatts. Is it not a fact?
Right.
Because he brought on board Cal Power, Ameri. And when you went to the thermal power sector, he introduced what we call early power, AXA and Amandi. So clearly, this is a man who is not known to lament without the provision of solutions to our economic challenges in the country, as far as even the other sectors are concerned. And it was on the same trajectory that he decided to present the State of the Nation address. And for me, Doc, you see my difficulty is that many people are proceeding to run commentary on what he presented before Parliament without even listening or going to read what he said. But the discussions are influenced by the NPP's discomfort when references is made to the economic sector. What President Mahama said about the economy was not up to even a page, the gloomy picture of the economy, and he proceeded to proffer solutions. It doesn't mean that not much could have been said. So much still could have been said. But it's because he did not want to dwell on the lamentation. But for the NPP and people who are sympathetic to them, to the extent that references were made to our economic situation, oh, President Mahama, though he wants to say he's not lamenting, he's lamenting. But go and read the statement.
Kwesi says that kind of comments will drive investors away.
No, I'll get there.
Okay.
I'll get there. I just needed to set that standard. You see, so clearly, it was not about lamentation.
Okay.
In any case, Moro, who needs to make statements to drive investors away? The investors are out of this country. They monitor events. They follow our parliamentary vetting procedures. They monitor our budget statements. Was it the statement President Mahama made that led to Ghana being declared bankrupt and unable to pay our debts? Was any statement the responsibility of us being locked out of the capital markets? Absolutely not. Because they have the data and they are privy to our economic management data. So based on those decisions can be made. But here you have a president who acknowledges and says that he's not willing to lie to anybody and he will present it as it is. And he has indicated that, look, I have met a crime scene, but I'm working tirelessly with my team. In any case, even before President Mahama made that statement, many other people around the world appreciate that Ghana was a crime scene when it comes to the economic management of our country. Why do you think that we did not have the foreign direct investments flowing in as it used to do? Why was our economy, why was our city depreciating even after COVID? So clearly, it is not about what President Mahama has said. Yes, maybe you can say that as president, he could have chosen another word. I agree, but I sincerely do not think that what he said should be the reason why people would not come into the country to invest. But then again, Moro, reference was made by Doc. No, my brother asked where we're going to get money to fund those initiatives that President Mahama spoke about. No, I mean...
he meant Kwesi.
Kwesi. You understand? First of all, if you listened and you read, my brother, you would have realized that President Mahama has indicated that there's going to be the big push agenda. And that as part of the ways to raise the money was simply rationalization of our taxes and also streamlining of government expenditure. And that he has already indicated or signaled a commitment to those. That is why he has reduced the number of ministers and deputy ministers, including regional ministers, to 60. As a way to cut expenditure and save money towards the big push agenda. He has also said that he's going to rationalize the tax sector. You asked the funding mechanism. Because if you listen to him, you would have realized that when he made reference to AgriNet, the farm service centers, he said that it will be largely funded by the big push agenda that we promised when we were in opposition. Right. And to a very large extent, we rely on some monies from the petroleum funds to support that big push agenda and finance it. Many of the initiatives that he indicated. So, but clearly, you people were interested in the politics. You are not following the details of his submission. Because you wouldn't have been asking the source of revenue. Unlike President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who launched Agenda 111 without any iota of knowledge as to where monies were going to come from.
Like the Hope
President
City.
Mahama will not do that.
Like the Hope City project.
You see, Home City, you see, that is another misconception. It was a private funded project, so private initiative. And most of you probably don't know that, or you choose not to. Then let me come to what Doc says. Doc, IMF recovery.
How many minutes are you giving him?
He has 2 more minutes to land. He has 2 more minutes to land.
No, that cannot be fair.
Because you've done almost 10
IMF, but you people are interjecting. You've made reference to IMF recovery. Then to show you that President Mahama is an honest person. If indeed, Doc, you read the statement, you would have come to the realization that in terms of even our exchange rate depreciation, President Mahama says that in 2023, the depreciating rate was around 23.7% or 23.8%. And in 2024, it fell down to about 19%, indicating or signaling progress. I'm not sure you read it. So President Mahama is not saying that there are no signs of progress or recovery. That is not what he's saying. He's simply saying that considering what I left behind, and these guys bastardized me in my Ghana sinking fund, I left in excess of $200 million. In my Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, I left in excess of $270 million. Are you following me, Moro? But these guys in their sinking fund left me $64,000 and 138 million Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And so if I look at what I left behind, and I was bastardized by these guys, and considering what they have left behind, and what they even refer to as modest recovery gains, is nowhere near to what I left behind. And so as far as my analysis is concerned, we are in a deep hole that needs serious sacrifice to get out of it. How is that wrong?
Okay.
And my brother, Doc, we made reference to ESLA. When ESLA was introduced, I told you that President Mahama appreciated that the challenges we had in the energy sector and the debt situation. So there was the need for a novelty to confront that debt. That was what led to ESLA. It does not mean that one cannot use ESLA to borrow. But what it means is that even in trying to use ESLA to borrow, make sure that it falls within the balance sheet of sustainability as far as ESLA account is concerned. And that was what he did, because most of the IPPCs were due for payment. And so there's nothing that prevents a government from raising bonds, using ESLA proceeds to set off or to pay off these debts that were due. And that was what happened. And all what we are telling you that is that today, even if they have left us a similar debt.
No, he's still within the 2 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, he's done.
Debt.
Because we gave him 10 and divided 15 for us.
I'm timing him.
So he's giving you 10 and divided 15 for us.
Even if they had left,
I'm timing him.
$4 billion each. What is the novelty that these guys introduced to confront that debt? Absolutely nothing. Good. And that is why I'm talking about, that is why I'm saying that when it comes to President Mahama, he doesn't just leave problems halfway. He finds workable ways of confronting them and dealing with them. And you cannot say same when it comes to the NPP administration.
That's right.
But I can understand their discomfort. They say that
let me
when both dry bones are mentioned in the proverb, old women are uncomfortable. But the reality is that this country is in an economic mess. Under President Mahama, to conclude, we were never locked out of the capital markets. And we are not unable to pay our debts under President Mahama. Under President Mahama, we did not launch a domestic debt exchange program. So that puts financial strain on the meager investments of Ghanaian citizens. Absolutely not. So how do you expect any well-meaning Ghanaian to conclude that what President Mahama has come to with?
You've not been fair to your friend Kwesi. You've not been fair to your friend Kwesi, because you have your 10 minutes. You have your 10 minutes. I'll give you 10 minutes. Don't worry.
Sitting here,
have your 10 minutes.
Sitting here, I mean, it gives me some moments of reminder. I mean, when usually, supposedly, people who are neutral like Doc and Prof, when they remind you of the realities, and when you are in government, you feel so carried away. You play the game of drama, and you feel that, I mean, some way, somehow, you had about 1.5 million different votes.
No,
so
we
you
had
respectfully.
We had 1.7.
I mean, you have your time.
Don't be disingenuous with the facts. We had 1.7.
Because you know that's not.
Thank you. Can I proceed?
You know that's not true. It was almost a million in their time.
But I think you have lost. Whether a million or two,
let's go ahead. Let's not major in this.
Well, because
of time,
the fundamental principle that I was advancing is that when you are in government, it requires modesty.
Right.
It requires wisdom. It requires respect in your communication and everything. That's fair.
It's fair.
I mean, to the substantive issue, I made some points here. He spoke about the sinking fund that we left about $264,000 Ghana cedis, while $1,000, while they left $250 million. I mean, the president reiterated it, except to say that we expected the president to have also acknowledged that whilst he was living in 2017, he left an external debt of $1 billion for the MPP in 2017 to pay. It's the more reason why I don't want us to go into the rhetoric. Respectfully. When you were talking, when you were go and read Abnas's statement. You may respond to same.
Your energy sector shortfall this year alone is $2.2 billion.
If you want to do this,
your energy sector shortfall.
If you want to do this,
if you want to do this, right?
It's
deliberate. Please go ahead. Don't be distracted. It's deliberate. Don't mind Hamza.
That's what. It is the more reason why I'm saying that the duty of government is not to complain. If you want to compare the figures and who left what and who left what, and want to consider the macroeconomic variables, I'm not sure you have a place to stand. Again, did I hear him speak about the fact that they are, in terms of, ways of sustaining the policies proposal that they are bringing, the social interventions that they are bringing, they are going to fund that through cutting of ministers, and that when you cut ministers, automatically it means you raise money to be able to fund this project.
What I heard him say was
that's
that
very
it's
simplistic.
part of the cost-cutting measures. That's what I heard him say. Part of the cost.
Yes, but
rationalization.
Yeah, he spoke about two things. I'm going to address it. One, he said they were going to cut down ministers, and then also rationalize tax. But I'm going to take each of them.
Okay.
For instance, when you cut down ministers, you see, for the optics, it may be good for the optics, but it really does not necessarily
government
mean
will save much.
Yes, you may even end up spending more. The fact that you cut ministries and ministers does not necessarily. Of course, you probably may have merged certain ministries, but just yesterday you created a director of agriculture at the presidency. Is it not going to take money?
Agriculture and agribusiness.
Is it not going to take money? No, aside the Ministry of Agriculture and Agribusiness. Yesterday, Otukono was appointed. Just like what Mr. Afenyomakin said, if more or less divide. So I don't want you to measure on that argument anywhere again. That because
but that's not the ministry.
No, you are. So at the end of the day,
yes.
So let me ask you something.
Please go ahead.
Can I?
You've been on platforms, Hamza, so many times. You know Hamza.
No, I gave him respect. So I expected that he reciprocates him.
Don't mind him.
You see the appointment.
Oh, Hamza,
should I get up and go?
Don't do that.
The appointment of the ministers are just individuals, right? If you look at these ministries, it's the suggestion that because the ministries are not there, the civil servants are no longer going to be paid. Very simplistic. The civil servants are still there. They are still going to be paid. They are still working. The ministers are just two people that are appointed there. So the fact that you say you are cutting ministries does not necessarily mean that those civil servants, they are also going to be cut. Very simplistic. They just throw it out there. We've cut ministries. We've cut down ministries. Yes, it's good for the optics. In the spirit of good governance, in the spirit of all that we are looking for. But you cannot tell me that you listed 5 key projects, and the way that you are going to fund is that you are telling me that because you cut down ministries, that's how you are going to fund it. Very simplistic, very evasive, unsustainable. That's the point I want to. Secondly, he's
why don't you want?
That's what you said that you are going to.
He has corrected you in that. Simply unwilling to listen.
You need to stop that. You made a point that when you cut the ministries, it will make you part of cost. Again, you made only 2 proposals: the rationalization of taxes.
Yes.
Rationalization of taxes.
Yes.
Right. You are making a claim and laying a claim that you inherited a very messy economy. On one side, a messy economy that you've also on one side. On the other side, you're giving so much proposals about what you are going to do. And then, interestingly, e-levy that is fetching you almost about 2 billion Ghana cedis. You say you are going to remove it in the name of politics. You say betting tax that the projection is expected to give you about 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. You say you are going to remove it. And then you come and tell me that as part of your rationalization of taxes, which the policy proposals and the promises that you've put down is rather going to reduce the income and the revenues that you are generating. You say that means that is the way that you are going to fund this proposals.
Per government's own calculations and expectations, once these 2 tax handles are scrapped, a lot more people would be engaged in the fintech space, and that would bring them some revenue. That's per the government's own analysis.
It's only creating
Yes.
money, but what is the direct money that will go to the government?
Yes.
As when people are playing in the financial sector,
Okay.
what direct money will it go to the government? Is it going to charge tax on those platforms?
We don't have that details. We don't
At
have
the end
those
of the day,
details. So when
unless
the
of
budget is
course,
ready, we'll get a clear
unless of
idea.
course, if you are talking about rationalization of taxes and obviously increasing revenue, it has more to do with expansion,
Yes.
where people will come in and pay. At the end of the day, if you are talking about expansion, simply it's essentially also means that you are going to take money from people. But I don't see the logic in, on one side, I mean, taking away revenue streams that supports the economy, and that can be a basis for you to implement your policies and ideas. And on the other side, you're saying that we are going to use rationalization. I'm saying that it may, on the face value for political communication like this, give an answer. But when you want to test it, in terms of the practicality, it's more complex than what he's saying.
Okay.
And they should come out with a more formidable way of going to fund these projects.
All right.
Again, hold on. Respectfully, Hamza, you spoke about you described the president described the country and the economy as a crime scene, and I disagree with him. But maybe let's look at it on the flip side, that he corroborated this crime scene with his action and the directive of clearing. All these cases that were pending before the court.
How is that related to the economy?
Come again?
How is that related to the economy?
Okay, very well. Respectfully.
He has spoken for more than 7 minutes. Wait, he hasn't done 10 minutes.
The interjections are.
I'm giving 10 minutes.
Don't
worry.
At the end of the day,
so don't worry.
At the end of the day, to the layman, does the economy not talk? Simply talks about how we're able to raise money, revenues, and support government business.
Right.
Unless, of course, you are telling me that I'm wrong.
Right.
You have about 271 million Ghana cedis that there is a question mark about where that money was. Arguably, we believe that it got missing at Cocoa Board. You look into the faces of your political class and tell them that, well, by association with the NDC, I'm no longer interested in retrieving that money. So you are corroborating the crime scene and a scenario that you give. I'm coming.
But you're already concluding that indeed those monies were taken.
No, those monies, then what is the point of we being in court?
So that's what I'm saying.
You see, the fact that we've not identified or the court has not been able to establish that Hamza or A person or B person took it, does not also mean that the money did not get missing or did not get misused.
But that has to be established by the court.
No, I am saying that that is not the duty of the court. It is the duty of the prosecutor to make an investigation and say that,
I understand that.
In these instances,
and I'm saying that at the end of the day,
450 million at Bank of Ghana, $15 million at Senate.
Yes.
You are talking about 270 million, 1 million. I'm not talking about the personalities involved, but I'm saying that these are all places where we could have retrieved money. But you came in with a preconceived mindset.
But you also agree
yes.
that if you're chasing, if it's a wild goose chase, that's actually causing financial loss to the state.
At the end of the day,
if it's something that the prosecution does not believe is worth
the misapplication and embezzlements of those funds are not in contention. At the end of the day, who answers for them? The 271 million.
When you say it's not in contention, what you're already saying is that the court has actually judged, ruled that indeed
these are two different issues. There is a difference between the court saying that you are held criminally liable for misappropriating these monies or these funds, and there's also one stretch where the state has been able to establish that these funds have been misappropriated. And I'm saying that within the holistic conversation where the matters have all been withdrawn, who answers for the same?
Yeah, but I'm saying that if those
what is more criminal than this?
But if those monies are missing, and the state does not believe that it can retrieve those monies, why waste time on it?
So why did it that when it was our time we believe it?
Remember that the former Attorney General went to court because in his own estimation and his own assessment of the case, there was a case to answer. There was a question to answer. Another Attorney General comes and says, per my own opinion and my own assessment and examination of the case, there's nothing to answer.
No.
Why do you think that the other Attorney General is right?
The fact that the AG reserves such discretionary powers and believe that he doesn't want to pursue the matter does not necessarily mean that offense did not happen.
And so, by the same logic,
can I respectfully land?
By the same logic.
Can I respectfully land?
Right.
Can I respectfully land? I may have shot somebody on my way here, and the person
Your
died.
time is even up. Our time is up.
I may have shot somebody.
He's done. No, I'll come to you.
I may have shot somebody.
His 10 minutes is up.
No, because you are also asking questions and the interjections are coming.
Yeah.
That's how come, because I'm not allowed to flow.
You've
I may have
used
shot
your time.
someone on my way here, and the AG decides whether or not to pursue the matter. It does. Even if today the AG says that he cannot establish any prima facie case against me, for that matter, he doesn't have enough evidences to prosecute it. It does not necessarily mean that I did not shoot the person. So ultimately, when we speak about a mixed economy, an economy which has been criminally handled, and when you come, the first thing you do as a president is to give more or less an immunity and withdraw the cases that were pending that could have also fetched the country money. I mean, it raises a question. And finally, because of the interjection, finally on the revocations, because you gave him 15 minutes, I'm just
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Well, I'm not there.
You've done 12 minutes already.
Well, I mean, tomorrow.
Yes, 52.
Finally on the revocations.
Yes.
Finally on the revocations. Let us not make a sweeping analogy as though everybody that was recruited within the public service did not have financial clients.
It didn't come
Ministry
up,
of
in the
Education.
Sona. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, that is even more. That is even more dangerous. That is even more dangerous. It's even the more reason why I'm laying it to bear. That as a president, you mount office, and the only
that has always been the problem with the NPP. In all honesty, that has always been. You see, sometimes I don't know whether they listen to themselves when they speak.
When you're talking, you disagree. But
he's gone outside. He's gone outside the time allocation.
Sona is not budget. Sona
is a state of the nation address, which has its moral. So if the president gives you overview, policy framework, wait until the budget statement is submitted to parliament. The budget statement of parliament will give you the rationalization measures that the government will take. The budget statement, when it's presented, it will tell you areas of expenditure that government intends to cut. So you don't expect President Mahama to appear before the Parliament of Ghana under his State of the Nation address and give you all the.
But before I do that,
I want to clarify something. The state of it's not even about the presentation. I'm not continuing again. After all, those ones I leave it to the public guard. But I'm saying
when they respect the views of state of the nation, what are you talking about?
The State of the Nation address is not.
So if the president presents the State of the Nation address and you are saying
I agree with you.
So it's not what if the president deliberately failed to talk about matters of the revocation,
right to raise
matters of security, matters of guarantee. You can talk about them. What are you talking about?
I'm simply telling you.
What are you talking about? The matters that the president intentionally ignored. That are of much concern.
But of course, that statement couldn't have covered everything under the sun. The president will concentrate on critical sector.
The revocation of appointment is not a priority to the president. Is that what you are suggesting?
It's not a critical sector.
The revocation of appointment is not a priority to the president.
Because it's the president who is not a priority to the executive.
Okay.
It is not.
Okay. So let me give them. No, that's his opinion. That's his opinion. That's opinion. No, that's his opinion. That's opinion. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Hamza, let me end with Doc. Doc. So in conclusion, Doc, what are you saying? Just before we
because you did not do so in the national interest. You did so based on political experience.
Let's not spend more time on this.
GES has allowed Doc. GES has financial class.
Didn't you do same?
I'm putting it to you.
Didn't you do same?
GES had a financial class for the first time. GES had a financial class.
I beg you. Let's talk. Question Hamza.
What are you talking about?
Hamza, relax.
Our priority is to create jobs and employ the team.
It's Doc's turn.
Unlike the things you guys do by packing the public service of your party people, and you want NDC to ratify it.
You take away
to employ them.
Oh, Hamza is time. Time is up.
So you own Ablakwa said that at his place they had financial class. You own Ablakwa.
Okay, so
I beg you, it's Doc's time.
There are three.
Okay, that you want to raise. Because you don't do that. I beg you.
So
yes.
Number one. Is how do we move forward from here?
Yes.
I mean, enough with the comparison and all that.
Yes.
I will advise this government and Hamza, my good friend, that you should focus on domestic revenue mobilization.
Okay.
You see, domestic revenue mobilization, I see, is pivotal to the various things, economic things that we do.
Okay.
It will influence whether we borrow. It will influence when we borrow, it will affect our exchange rate. It will also affect inflation.
Yeah.
In 2022, our domestic tax revenue mobilization was around 53 billion.
Yeah.
In 2023, it came to 113 billion Ghana cedis. Last year, it came to 153.4 billion. What it means that in the past 3 years, domestic revenue mobilization has gone up about 103%. Now, if this government is able to continue on the domestic tax mobilization, and I'm expecting that this year should cross 200 billion, looking at the trajectory, it will limit any form of borrowing.
Okay.
I mean, you see, one credit that Hamza we shouldn't take from the previous administration is the ability to mobilize domestic revenue.
At what cost?
Hold on.
Like ordinary.
Hold on. So
and that
now
is why we are a social democratic
so
party.
so
we had those
hold
questions.
on.
The person who was against interruption.
I'm coming. I'm driving at a point that I think we should look at the merit of it rather than
the demerits.
Yes. You see, I agree that e-levy should go off.
Okay.
From the beginning it was introduced. I don't think it's necessary.
Right.
You can, as a government, you cannot say you support digitalization and charge e-levy. It doesn't make it contradict.
Right.
Now, when those taxes go, those taxes together annually will be around 3-point-something billion, less than 4 billion. Even if you take that 3 billion from 153 billion, you would have still made 150 billion with that e-levy and all those things. So, if the government can focus on mobilizing domestic tax revenue, and by focusing, I'm saying that it should broaden the base. The informal, there are a lot of Ghanaians don't pay taxes. That's
Again, it is in the State of the Nation address. He has told you that he will broaden the base and ensure that he
How many times have government's promise of broadening the base? How many times?
Practical terms.
How many times have you spoken about those things?
Hasn't he done it before with the homegrown policies that we implemented?
4 years will come. You say
when it was done, we know that in 2020, even in 2021, those who paid direct taxes were less than 10% of the working population.
So it means we still have more work. They'll take us off. They'll take off, unfortunately. I beg you.
I wanted to talk about this is not Sona. Hamza will not agree, but I just want to say in 30 seconds.
Yes.
Creating committees.
Okay.
It is a purported plan to weaken state institutions.
Okay.
Now, if we look at economic dialogue, the NDPC has the competence to do what this government wants to do.
Okay.
But we sideline those state institutions. We end up creating committees that we will pay them.
Okay.
You know, why don't we make use of the existing institutions?
That one I don't disagree with. I don't.
We duplicate work, and in the end, the cost of running government goes up.
The National Development Planning Commission.
And NDPC did it. NDPC did it in Kofor's time.
Yeah, I agree.
And when they were doing the poverty reduction strategy, it was
I agree.
It's good for the first that you agree.
No, that is the mark of the NDC. Unlike you people.
I know. We'll get
all shapes of
so let me say big thanks to two good friends. I mean, but they fight all the time. Hamza Suhine is a private legal practitioner, also a member of the NDC's communications. Kwesi Kwarteng is also a private legal practitioner, a member of the MPP's communication. Professor John Osai Kwapo is with the Democracy Project. He's a project director. And also Dr. Eric Boachi-Yadom is a financial economist, senior lecturer, banking and finance department of the UPSA. My name is Audumoro. Let me also remind you again that Inside Pages will now air on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. So starting next week Sunday, watch out for Inside Pages 7 to 9 p.m. It won't be on Saturday morning from 8 to 10 anymore. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
More than 80% of global trade is carried by sea. Most of the products we consume daily travel through ports, making them a key link in the global supply chain. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is committed to ensuring the enhancement, resilience and sustainability of port infrastructure and maritime trade. Get to know which vessel is bringing your goods, how much duty you are required to pay and how quickly you can clear your goods from the ports of Ghana. We ask the relevant questions and elicit responses from the appropriate authorities. We interact with you via our social media platforms and put your queries across to the expert. Iron Port shows this and every Sunday live on Metro TV at 5:30 p.m. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by and powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Iron Port, transparency in doing business and building nation.
Effects of having hypertension whilst pregnant?
Now, I would want us to rather look at the types of hypertensions in pregnancy.
Okay. So there are types?
Yes.
So it's just not like hypertension, but then there are types?
Yes, there are types in pregnancy. So you remember that your first question was, is it different
from the
normal hypertension? And that is where this definition comes in. So we have types of hypertension in pregnancy. And then the types are, the first one is a chronic hypertensive person, where the mother